Hi, this is Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center, and I want to welcome you tonight for our conversation on the Wheel of Health. I love this type of conversation. You know what? Growing up as a kid, I can remember watching the old black and white movies. I can remember watching that wagon train being pulled along. Sooner or later, something had to happen. And sure enough, as that spoke broke, all of a sudden you saw that wheel not being turned real smoothly, and eventually it just totally broke down. Now granted, I really loved the Three Stooges version of that. That always came with some extra laughs. Well, tonight we got a little bit more of a serious conversation. Because when we talk about this wheel, this wagon wheel that we talk about, the Wheel of Health, guess what? We're talking about your health. The most valuable thing that you and I have, our health. We all recognize the fact that, hey, listen, everybody takes it for granted until they lose it. And then trying to regain our health is one of those things that is such an arduous task. It's so difficult. So for me, I love these conversations. For me, I love the fact that we get to share this information. In fact, I'm going to ask you to share this information with your friends and your neighbors because I realize there's somebody out there that doesn't know what you know. In fact, when this workshop is over, they're definitely not going to know what you know. And therefore, guess what? I want you to share the information so that they have an opportunity of making better choices just like you're going to. Because listen, in the end, this knowledge gives us power over our problems. In fact, it gives us power over the decay and breakdown that nature wants to bring to us. Everything in nature is driven to a state of disease and breakdown and decay over time. But you know what? Our job, make sure that things continue to run smoothly. So if we do our part, it's going to lessen that rate of breakdown. So let's dig into this. Because our health isn't just something that we talk about. It's just not that one singular thing. In fact, one of the hopes that I have for you tonight is that you come to recognize that everything is interconnected in your body. Not one thing is going to stand alone like a pillar. That's not the way our body works. Every system is reliant upon another system in order to supply it, in order to help remove toxins, in order to help to support the function. Guess what? Everything is interconnected. So, when we look at this Wheel of Wellness, it helps to see this. It helps to see how it helps us balance things out. In fact, I love the fact that in the end, when you look up the definition of health, whether it's Webster's Dictionary or Dorland's Medical Dictionary, I love the fact that it is stated clear as day, like in Dorland's. Health is a state of optimal mental, physical, and social well-being and not a matter of disease or infirmity. Guess what? In the end, it takes more than one thing for us to be healthy. And when we look at the Wheel of Wellness, guess what? There's a bunch of different things on this wheel. There's a bunch of different categories that form this wheel. And you can just imagine if we're neglecting one of these forms. In fact, I know people all the time, hey, listen, you know what? I may be getting 2-3 hours of sleep a night. Sooner or later, as we're effectively not handling some of those physical stresses that are supposed to be supported by that sleep, guess what? Bad things are going to happen. Oh yeah, I'm just going to live on 500 calories a day. Our body requires those calories for natural function, or maybe we're just going to totally remove one or two, categories of the foods that we eat, like we're just going to get rid of all the fats. Well, that sounds really good. Yeah, it's going to save us a few calories, but in the end, it's going to starve our brain and many other systems of our body from being able to function and communicate properly. Does that sound like a scenario that works? See, when we go to those extremes, listen, we're going to, whether we realize it or not, cause part of this system to break down. And when we have part of this system breaking down, well, things are not going to run very smoothly. Now, if we do that on 2 or 3 of these different categories, guess what? Wheels on the bus come off. When those wheels on the bus come off, the bus doesn't move very well, you know. And the sad part of it is that is when you get to see life passing you by, and that's not okay. So, question, what does this wheel wellness mean for you? Listen, when we start looking at the physical wellness, this not only includes exercise and nutrition, but we have to look at some of the physical, mental, and spiritual components that also come into this category. And listen, we're never going to be able to dive deep into any of these categories during these few minutes period of time. My job is to get you to start thinking about this process. In fact, I want you in the comment section below to share with me what it is that you're being provoked in order to address because of this conversation. Hey, listen, maybe it is your sleep. Maybe it's how you're feeding and fueling your body. Maybe it's you getting that, the proper amount of exercise. I don't know. But I want to hear from you so that we can continue in this process and we can continue that journey of helping you get to that better place. Some of those questions that come to mind when we start talking about some of these physical things of, do you actually listen to your body when it starts talking to you? We love the quote, if you listen to your body when it whispers, you don't have to hear it scream at you, right? You ever had that experience in the house? Mom tells you, hey, listen, you might want to pick up the clothes. You might want to clean up the dishes. Well, the first time comes very polite. She asks you to do it. I'm pretty sure as you ignore her the first, second, third time, well, things get ramped up a little bit, don't they? Now, a lot of you out there are shaking your heads. Absolutely. Have you ever been caught in that position where it's like, oh, push the edge of the envelope one too many times, and I just went over the edge. Well, let me rephrase that. Mom just went over the edge. So, in the end, our body is no different. Our body will give us, it is so gracious to us. It will give us leeway. It'll give us a lot of rope. And in fact, it'll give us enough rope to choke ourselves. When we get to that point of choking ourselves, the sad thing is we have to pay the price. We just had a patient earlier that, hey, listen, you know what? Didn't listen to their body, got to that place where there was no more room to wiggle. And they ended up at the emergency room in order to get crisis care to deal with a situation that should never have gotten to that point. Do you stay hydrated throughout the course of the day? Do you sip on water throughout the course of the day to make sure that you're hydrating properly? Or do you have to guzzle water all at one shot? Or maybe you don't even do that. And you start getting those black bags under your eyes. You start getting lethargic. You start getting headaches and things like that. And you're wondering, well, why is my body doing this to me? Oh, yeah, and by the way, then you get sick. And your body will stop you. Are you consistently getting that proper sleep schedule? Are you feeling tired and rested the way you're supposed to? These are just some of the questions that come up when I think about, some of the physical things that are under your control in this wheel of wellness. When we're looking at nutrition, it's exactly that. Are you making the better food choices? Later this month, we're going to be talking about breakfast. We're going to be having a breakfast here in the office. In fact, if you haven't heard, we're having breakfast with Baker. Now, listen, I'm telling you now, we're having breakfast for dinner. So, it will be a Tuesday night at 5:45. If you want information, make sure that you contact the office in regards to breakfast with Baker. We are not only going to be making breakfast items here in the office, but you're going to be having the samples of those things. I want you to be able to taste what it is to actually feed and fuel your body better. And not just you, but also those younger bodies, that next generation that can't make those decisions for themselves. I want you to have that opportunity of experiencing it so that you can share it with the rest of your family. Now, as always, we need to have a balanced diet. That means that, yes, proteins, fats, carbohydrates. We need to make sure that we have that proper balance. Are you getting a variety of foods? Are you eating fruits and vegetables? I know people out there, they don't see green on their plate. When I load my plate up, it looks like the colors of the rainbow. I love it. It's a beautiful thing. It's nice and colorful. It's very pretty. There are some, there is no green on their plate. Fruits and vegetables are part of a diet that is absolutely necessary for each and every one of us. There should be a balance, but they should be there. Are you eating slow and mindfully? Or are you just shoveling food in? Our digestive system is designed to be slowly loaded up. Not like a giant dump truck. A huge load dumped all at one time. That's not the way our system was designed. And you want to make sure that you're consuming foods that have a great level of protein, calcium, and other fiber in order to make sure that you're getting that long-lasting food in your system where you're going to have that consistent filled effect. You know, unlike those sugary products that a lot of people consume, the bars and things like that, where all of a sudden, as soon as those calories are burned off or they're used up, you're left feeling hungry. You're left feeling empty, which means now you're grabbing for something else in order to feed the body. Not what you want to do. You want to ensure that you're having enough fatty acids in order to support your heart function, to support your brain, the nervous system connections the way they're supposed to be. All of those things have a place. And yes, you gotta move your body. Listen, part of this wellness wheel is it needs to be in motion. Everything that your body demonstrates is you're supposed to be in motion. That's why sitting is the new smoking. It's going to kill you. It's not if it's going to, it's just how quickly is it going to do it. Every orthopedist out there tells you, keep your joints moving. Keep your joints moving. You need to move these joints because just like a car that's sitting there for any length of time, the tires are going to wear out. Stuff is just going to rust away. Your body is absolutely no different. When you have subluxations, when bones come out of place, those joints jam together, guess what? Arthritis forms. When that happens, the spine wants to actually fuse together. Not okay. Once those joints fuse together, you don't move them again. That old adage, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Absolutely is true. So we realize that, hey, listen, movement has a lot of different properties. In fact, it not only helps to maintain muscles, but also our bone structure and support the joints the way they're supposed to. Need to make the time to exercise. You need to make sure that you're taking breaks for even the simple things like walks and stretches and things like that. In fact, you know, if you're able to just to take the stairs up and down, it is going to be helpful in the end. Does it have a profound effect? Well, a little bit. Every little bit counts. You need to constantly be moving this body of yours. In fact, even stretching, it demonstrates so many positive effects where not only does it stretch the muscle, it also strengthens the muscle, and it helps to create motion within the joints. All of these things are hugely valuable for our body to continue to function well throughout our lifetime. And yet you probably know people. They're not a couch potato. They're just a potato. They're not moving at all. They're not using the couch as the only reason to sit down. Every place is they're a potato. They just don't move. And it's not okay. You want to make sure that you're taking breaks throughout the day. You want to make sure that you're stretching, you're holding those stretches for 30 seconds to continue to strengthen the tissues. You want to make sure that you're increasing the range of motion as much as you can. Yeah, push into the uncomfortableness and feel the stretch. We need that because our body, it wants to tighten everything up. It wants to shorten things, those muscles, the tendons, the ligaments. We need to stretch those out in order to make sure that we're offsetting the negative effect that gravity has on us. And we always want to make sure, sometime throughout the course of the day, we're using weights or bands in order to help strengthen our muscles. Oh yeah, by the way, that also strengthens the bones too. In every osteoporosis regeneration program, guess what? There is a weighted physical exercise that needs to be done. The great thing is you're capable of using bands in order to help to stimulate this process. You don't have to travel with 20-pound weights. You could travel with a 1-pound band in order to create the exercises that you need in order to help yourself. And yes, sleep is important. Let's not overlook this because in the wheel of wellness, this is when your body rejuvenates. Can't tell you how many times people say, hey, I did an all-nighter. It's like, that's wonderful. It's going to take your body 30 days to recover from the process. We had a patient who just got off of working third shift and recognizes already the tremendous benefit to his body that it's giving him because he's able to get sleep at the proper time. See, it's not just enough to make sure that you're getting sleep. The right action at the wrong time doesn't have that same positive output. So we want to make sure that we're getting it at the right time because not only is it great for us physically, but mentally our body needs it in order to help it rejuvenate the way it's supposed to. So a couple key pointers for your sleep pattern is, listen, you want to say no to all-nighters. In fact, you want to make sure that you're in bed by 10 o'clock. We know the prime time in order to get rejuvenating sleep is from 10 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning. 10 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning. And no, it's not a chiropractic thing. All those guys who do sleep study work, guess what? That's exactly when they're going to tell you, you get REM sleep. It's exactly why you take a nap after you've had a Thanksgiving meal and you're not feeling rejuvenated. That's why. Alcohol use is one of those things that you want to minimize because it will affect your sleep pattern. You also want to make sure that, you know what, you want to keep your bedroom for sleep. It's not made for reading books. It's not made for watching TV. You don't want to do yoga in bed. It's made to sleep. You want to make sure that it is set up exactly that way. In fact, for some of you, maybe you need to go back and review the workshop we did on EMFs. Because for many of us, with all the 5G technology that's being put into our phones and put into our house with the routers, it's one of those things where it can have a negative effect on our sleep pattern. And if you're not aware of it, our workshop on EMFs address that. So you can look that up on our YouTube page. If in fact you're a napper, listen, short power naps, they've demonstrated how they can be helpful for certain individuals. Listen, if you can take a 10-minute nap during the course of the day, you do it. If you feel rejuvenated, guess what? Do it even more, all right? I'm just going to tell you, all of these suggestions are helpful in order to help improve that balance in your body. In fact, I'm pretty sure as we talk about this and the stress, component, it's one of those things. All of us have it. Not just you, not just me, but everybody around you. Whether we're talking about the physical stress, gravity pushing down on us, the stress of us doing our jobs, things like that, but the mental, the emotional stresses. We live in a troubled time. We live with a tremendous amount of social stresses that are around us. Listen, we need to protect ourselves of those things. There is opportunities for us all the time to block out those negative influences and look towards setting ourselves up for more positive outcomes. Common sign, we can always look for those common signs of stress. We can always look for those eating tendencies where, hey, listen, I'm a stress eater. I start grabbing for chocolate or grabbing for a wine glass, or, I just continue to consume. I just don't stop feeding my face. Sometimes, we experience, because of those stresses and how it affects our nervous system, because it's rooted within the master system, it affects how our immune system is able to protect us. It will cause us not to be able to defend ourselves from viruses, bacteria, different things that are coming our way. Guess what? When our nervous system is weakened, our immune system is weakened, and we can be overrun by those things more easily. We sabotage ourselves when we take on an overload of stress. In fact, for some of you out there that may not be aware of this, I want you to recognize that one of the best stress busters happens to be that exercise that we talked about earlier. So we're going to get back to that beginning part of our conversation of everything is interconnected within our system. All of these different things feed into one another. Now, finally, and we left this for the end, your spinal health. See, there's a reason why we talk about this at the end, because when we look at the vital needs of what's really important in our body, what has the biggest effect on numerous systems, this wheel of wellness, if there was a center hub on it, just like that wagon wheel, guess what? That would be your nervous system. And I want you just to think about this for just a second. If the nervous system isn't functioning, can you ever get the sleep that you need? No. If the nervous system isn't functioning, can you ever digest the food that you're taking in? No. If that nervous system isn't functioning the way it's supposed to, can you ever exercise the way your body needs to be in order to grow that tissue? The answer is no. So we recognize that in the end, when we look at all of the different components of this wheel of stress, that most central and most important thing happens to be the function and the communication of that nervous system of yours. See, in the end, we recognize that, you know what? Your master system, which happens to be your nervous system, your brain creating that signal at 100% of what your body needs, it uses that spinal column as a conduit in order to get information to every other system. Well, if in fact you have those subluxations, those bones that are out of place, weakens those connections. And the sad thing is that oftentimes people are totally unaware of the function of their nervous system. See, sadly, many individuals never test their system. They never know how it's actually functioning. And therefore, they oftentimes wonder, well, why is this wheel of wellness not running smoothly the way it's supposed to? In the end, I realize the greatest gift that we give to individuals is the opportunity of simply getting checked. Because oftentimes that starts unlocking the anchors that keep any of these other categories from functioning properly the way they're supposed to. I want to share with you just a short story about a young man who came to visit us, and in turn came in for supposedly low back pain. That's all he thought he had. And in turn, as we started to walk through the evaluation, recognizing that his posture was not the way it's supposed to be, as we felt the spine, things were not positioned or moving exactly the way things were supposed to be, looking beyond and making sure that we were taking those x-rays to look inside, we discovered a lot of mechanical things, subluxations, other congenital defects that were there that were preventing his body from functioning the way it was supposed to. In fact, it was starting to keep him from being able to do the stuff that he enjoys doing. See, in the moment of getting tested, came to understand not only what was going on, but also the proper steps of what he could do in order to help himself. And like anything, his chiropractic care is to help reestablish those levels of connection, help give him the opportunity of supporting the body and being capable of engaging and doing the things that he desires to do. We all know somebody out there just like that young man that simply doesn't know what we know about chiropractic or about what's happening inside their body. I'm going to ask you to share this information. Not for me, but I recognize that there's people out there, they don't have the opportunity of getting this information. They don't know what you know because it's not a circle that they work within or function in on a regular basis. And yet I know as you get to share this information, the hope is that that thing that costs you absolutely nothing, that only takes but a second, gives somebody else the opportunity of learning and understanding how they could take care of themselves better. In fact, ultimately, the desire is that it may save somebody. Somebody from having made the mistake of not listening to their body when it's whispering to them and having to hear it scream at them as the wheels on the bus have come off. As always, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things with this video. Make sure that you like this. Leave me a comment on the thing that you're going to be taking away, that one most right thing for you to be doing next. And then finally sharing this information with your Facebook friends. I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center.